This is America. And yeah, you might be asking, do I got any more of those pixels? No, I don't got any more of those pixels. So deal with this. Now back to America. Welcome to Unit 7 of AP US History, where we'll be mostly talking about World War I and World War II. Including just a little bit before World War I started and the in-between between World War I and World War II. This is the 1900s of America. This is what America looked like in the 1900s, and it was incredible, except for the fact when it wasn't. There were stock market booms, yes, but that was mostly because everyone thought that it would be working, but then someone said, hey, what if it doesn't work? Oh no, I didn't think about that, and everyone started selling because of this panic thing, and the stock market fell, and the boom, explosion, and no stock market anymore, nobody's existing anymore, no companies existing anymore, and all these technological inventions, daydream it yourself, people. Pretty much everyone was starting to think that this was one of the awesome times of the era. Everyone was starting to go ahead and build new technologies. There was greater improvement in science and people's minds and thinking. They were pretty revolutionary if you compare it to like what was happening just a few decades ago. But of course, all good things have to have an end, and American economy fell down, and nobody was able to do anything. Then the Germans were all like, "Hey, we're gonna do World War One. Anyway, okay, America, please don't join." And America's like, "Hell no, we ain't gonna join at all." And then the British are all like, British and everyone else is all like, "Hey, join for heaven's sake, join it for heaven's sake. We need to go ahead and help these guys." America for Americans, but but Uncle Sam's like, America for Americans, America first. Where did we hear that before? The Americans were number one in their eyes, and World War I was just another international conflict that they could not cross. Lucky for them, there was an entire ocean in between them and that war. So all they had to do was just stay back and do nothing. Except then they got agitated, and the Germans were all like, okay, what if they do really attack us? And then they attacked them first. That's a big, bad mistake. If you attack America, America will attack you back with even bigger force. So, what did America do? They started supplying the British and the French and their allies with supplies, and then when that stopped working because they were being sunk or destroyed, they sent troops there, and then of course World War I started, and then the Allies were able to turn the tides of war for them. Went from losing all the way to back to winning, and like it went like this for the Allies. If everyone starts here, they're like, oh yeah, America joins the war. That's pretty much what happened. Now what do they do now? Well, World War I's over, and America is one in the positions of going ahead and creating all the peace term treaties. And our American president, Woodrow Wilson, went ahead and he's all like, yeah, I'm gonna create these 14 points. And these 14 points will be forever peace forever around the world. If everyone in the world who is a bunch of backstabbing, betraying people actually agree to this entire thing. And then he created his 14 points. Unfortunately, the rest of Europe, and including America itself, hated Wilson's 14 points. Wilson was all like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do a bunch of these things. No more war, no more secret treaties. Or, like, notify everyone eventually that you have a secret treaty, that kind of stuff. No more, no more. And an international organization where everyone will unite to go ahead and solve conflicts together. That was point number 14. Now, the Europeans all pretty much hated it, so they never included it in the Treaty of Versailles. They never included that in the Treaty of Versailles, but they did include the League of Nations. In fact, most countries didn't even agree with all of the League of 14, all the 14 points. The only point that everyone except America could agree on was point number 14. It works. And then Woodrow Wilson tried to get America into the League of Nations, and the American congressmen were like, but this will violate our isolationist policy, and we love being isolated. We don't want to go deal with other people's wars. America first! And so Woodrow Wilson was offered this compromise on the 14th point so that they could change a little bit the League of Nations constitution, or they just absolutely don't join at all, or he fight. Woodrow Wilson decided to fight, and he almost won. He was a pretty good campaigner, but the scene that cost him the win was that he got a heart attack heart attack in the middle of a speech campaigning for the League of Nations, and then when he recovered, well, the vote was already done, and then most people, it came out as a majority of no League of Nations for America, which is a terrible thing because America was the strongest country at the time, and it showed that the League of Nations was pretty weak. This is where the following up towards World War II starts to happen. World War II went ahead and ended up not being as a big mess as we exactly hoped for. World War II eventually became an even gigantic mess. It just became something that no one could even go ahead and think about. Everyone wanted peace, yes, but nobody wanted war, except people who were pretty mad that they lost the war, like Germany. Germany was ordered heavy reparations because no one has ever even attempted to do this kind of scale of war, not even in ancient times. What did they do instead? Well, they asked the Germans to pay them an incredibly big amount of money. Americans loaned the Germans the money, and then the Germans used that money to pay the French and the British, and the British and the French used that money to pay back Americans' debt. And so it was a cycle, an endless cycle, where nobody would become happy, nobody would actually go ahead and be satisfied. So, you know what they did? Germany was like, heck no, I'm not gonna do this anymore, and just left the cycle entirely and just started building up their military. And the League of Nations were all like, could you just not do that by any chance? And then Germany's like, no, get away. And then, yeah, the Nazis came to power. I should probably use red now. The Nazis came to power. And what did they do now? Well, what they did was, now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and destroy everything. Okay, they're not going to destroy everything. We're going to conquer everything. That would be a more accurate word. We're going to destroy the way of life for most people, and then we're going to go ahead and assimilate it and create a perfect way of life for everyone. The League of Nations obviously was all like, yeah, we need to do something about this. But then they couldn't do anything about it, which showed how weak the League of Nations truly was. World War II has eventually started. And America was once again initially in their isolationist policies. So our own FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, decided that shipping supplies towards the Allies was a really good idea. He said, FDR was like, no, can do. I can't send American troops there, but here, have some weapons. Which ended up being able to go ahead and turn the tide of war. Germany really did not want America in the war because, well, America was on the other side of the world, and they had a really fresh army compared to what the British and the French had, and the Germans didn't want to agitate that, so they stopped their own submarines from even attacking American ships that had Americans on them. But then they started violating those agreements, so America had to join the war. And then the Americans were all like, okay, we need to do something. And then German scientists who defected from Germany and went to America to help create scientific weapons stuff told them that Germany was creating an atomic bomb. And then the Americans were like, we need to create it faster than them so we can use it on them. And then they were able to go ahead and create the bomb. But by the time that they even finished creating the bomb, Germany had already surrendered. But there was one country that was still fighting to the death, literally fighting to the death, and that was our one and only Japan. The Japanese are all like, yeah, nobody can do this kind of destruction, and then they got obliterated by not one, but 2 atomic bombs. What was the result of this in the end? Well, the atomic bomb went ahead and gave America the leverage to create the peace terms. Went ahead and gave the leverage to create the peace terms of World War II. They didn't force anyone to do any big reparations, because look how that turned out the last time they tried to do that. Because no one wanted World War III, and they created the United Nations, where everyone would go ahead and follow the rules of it, the constitution of it, and including have a say in it, an international organization where a bunch of diplomats meet together and talk about stuff and resolve stuff. That was what World War II created. But with the invention of these arms, we were able to go ahead and create something that we probably shouldn't have never done before, and it ended up becoming one of the biggest disasters, arguably, in human history. What did we do in the end? we did a very, very cold war. I'll explain to you next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Hunter John. I hope to see you guys soon. Until next time, Shion out. Peace. Bye bye.